Hello, Internet. This is Frazley. Well, I am currently not actually here, so there was no live show because, guess what? I'm over in Australia. I am over here visiting a lot of friends, and this week I have visited Spazz. Spazz and I talked a lot about E3, and this was recorded back in June, but we talked about our favorite things at E3. This is Frazley's Australian Adventure. Let's start the Gnome Train. So, Spazz, it's good to see you. It's 6 a.m. in the morning here where I'm at.
It's 8 p.m. here for me, so time zones are a bit crazy.
Oh, they are. I was talking to somebody who's like, so it's like 14 hours difference. Was like, wow.
Yep.
By the time this is out, E3 will have happened last month. But there was a lot of great news that came out in E3. There were like so many games for so many people. What do you think of this E3?
This E3 was huge. A lot of announcements. This E3 was kind of like a whole bunch of short-term announcements, a whole bunch of medium 1 to 2 year announcements, and then a select few coming eventually announcements, which is really good because it means there's things that are coming soon that we're going to get our hands on, but there are things that we can look forward to.
There was less focus on hardware because all of them have established consoles, and the console seems to be doing well. I mean, I know there's rumors of the next Xbox or the next PlayStation, but really, they're all doing well, and even the Switch doesn't seem behind this year. The Switch is great. People are loving it. There's really no complaint on anything.
No. And the Switch is just getting started, and the PlayStation and Xbox are hitting their stride and really going for it, even though they have said, it's in its last legs in air quotes. But to most people, games are played, and the lifespan of the console is up to the people who make it. It doesn't really matter too much.
I know people are still playing PS2s and PS3s, and my nephew still plays their Xbox, the original Xbox One.
Yeah. I've still got all my old consoles. There are people that still do speedruns of old NES games even. It just depends on what you want to play.
Absolutely, and if you can keep the console running even after it's no longer produced. I think Xbox is the one that comes the closest to allowing you to play the most old games.
Yeah, I think so. With their backwards compatibility, that's a big thing. Obviously, the Nintendo has their eShop, but it's kind of slow to produce things, which kind of sucks.
And you have to keep rebuying games every generation of console.
Nothing carries over. Yeah, that's the other thing.
And then, like, Sony is fighting everybody for cross-platform play. Nintendo and Microsoft are playing nice with Fortnite, but Sony's like, nope, we want our walled garden. I'm like, come on, Sony.
Yeah, players everywhere have been crying for it for so long, but they just can't shake hands and play nice, even if it would lead to such a better experience. But I'm sure it's probably a technical nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. And trying to stop modding and stuff like that. So of the games that you sent out over on the list, one of the games that has really stuck with me for years has been Beyond Good and Evil. I picked that game up just on a whim from a computer shop years ago. I ran into like all the patch issues, so I kept trying to play it for years. And then finally, on like some re-release somewhere, I think it was finally the PS3 release of Beyond Good and Evil, finally have to play it because I've always wanted to play it, but that game tried so hard to really push the boundaries, and on my computer at that time it really pushed the boundaries. Like cutscenes would like crash or not play audio right, but the game itself was always gorgeous. The music, I actually pulled up like the propaganda song, I pulled up all those things, and the world with like Jade, with Paige, just everything was amazing, and you never really questioned any of it. It was there, and it was like, oh yeah, of course, your uncle's a pig. You never thought, wait, this is interesting. It kind of showed how everyone's unique, but then you're fighting to save your friend and your family.
Yeah, I never actually played Beyond Good and Evil. I don't know why or how I missed it, but it definitely, the sequel looks amazing. When the trailer was playing for the announcement, I was watching it, I'm like, I have no idea what this is, and then I saw the pig in the kitchen, and I was like, is that Good and Evil? And then it was, and I was like, holy crap, they're finally releasing that, because it's been such a long, when are we getting the sequel sort of thing? But it looks amazing.
The whole game was diverse, both from the gameplay styles to the world. Like, you would go to like the Mamago garage and it is Jamaican rhinos, or you would go somewhere else and like there was a Spanish bar. I mean, there were just so many different things that you would go to the place. You're like, wow, it just showed the diversity of Hylia. So many people on the planet just enjoying life, but trying to stop themselves from being invaded by aliens. And they were trusting a government to protect them. And that government ended up not protecting them. It was kind of interesting to remember politically across the world what was going on at that time. We had like questions of like government supervision and stuff like that. And nowadays we still have that in multiple countries. It's a story that really speaks to the heart of everybody. There was a lot of like stealth in the game. Yeah, I could go on to talk about Beyond Good and Evil. It was great, but I'm excited that we're finally getting a sequel. And this is one that I'm going to try to find a way to pick this up at some point, because it's a game I've beat twice and I loved it each time.
Definitely picking up the sequel, even if I haven't played the first one. So that's for sure.
I just hope they can recapture that feel of the first one, because that's the hardest thing. And I can see why it's taken so long. It's how do you recapture what was, in a way, an accident of so many things? Because the charm of the game, too, was that it was trying so much. And you're like, okay, you can excuse any of the mechanic stuff. And we've gone so far in engines. But maybe it's finally at the place where the dream the designers had is finally achievable. This is also a year of a lot of sequels, like Battlefield 5. And for that one, we're not going to the modern war. We're going back to 1942.
Yeah, the Battlefield series has always been really interesting in terms of their approach on everything. Obviously, everyone compares it to Call of Duty. It's so different in terms of the gameplay and the story that they tell. It's totally different. There's a lot more to it.
What's been fun about Battlefield is you're part of a team, that you're not just somebody, a lone wolf, but you try to play as a team and you try to play team-based combat. And the 1942 games has always stuck out as one of my first major forays into FPS. I dabbled with 1942 and Unreal Tournament 2004 because they were about the same time. Unreal was always your lone deathmatch. Battlefield 1942, when you played it right, you were with a team. And that game was before they had a lot of voice comms. I mean, there was TeamSpeak and Mumble, but they weren't quite as prevalent as they are now. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the old world again.
Yeah, back when Unreal Tournament was the king of the cafes, everyone was at LAN cafes. And there's no way you'd be playing enough people in one LAN cafe to even play Battlefield effectively. So that was kind of like not really one of those games.
Oh, an interesting thing is a tangent on Unreal. They had a better mod for Star Wars than Battlefront. I remember, I forget who made it, but someone made a Star Wars mod. And like you had like a fight on a Star Destroyer, you had ship battles. And whenever I picked up Battlefront, I was like, it doesn't feel the same. It was a mod that was free, that was better than this. They had like one, like you were on the blockade runner and you were either the rebels trying to stop the Imperials or you were the Imperials trying to get in. That was a time of a lot of mods and a lot of fun attempts. Like even for Battlefield 1942, there was a desert combat mod. I tried playing the modern war of Battlefield. I was like, but desert combat, it felt more realistic.
There were so many mods, and just the people who take the time to mod the games as much as they do, it's unbelievable what they can get done. Like the people that literally built Dota in Warcraft 3, all of the custom maps and custom weapons and the custom vehicles that were pulled from other games in like the Halo series, Halo Custom Edition, not Combat Evolved. They were able to pull all those assets back and forth, and it was just ridiculous.
Coming up, we have Elder Scrolls 6, and seeing the Skyrim mods that they've come out with, and like the Fallout mods, it'll be amazing to see. If we're not getting full-shotted graphics in that trailer that we saw, it'll be amazing to see what they do with the Elder Scrolls 6. It's been a long time coming, but Skyrim's been around for a long time because, one, there's been so many versions of it, and people have modded it so well. The total conversions, I remember those like Morrowind and stuff like that.
Yeah, people have rebuilt whole continents in Skyrim. Like, they've built Morrowind in Skyrim. They've built all Baldur's Gate. They've built whole other worlds in there, and like the amount of time people put into it. And then you've got the really dumb mods that, like, there's one that replaces all of the dragons with Thomas the Tank Engine engines.
That. Yes.
It's, oh gosh, it's so dumb. Like, people have modded Halo armor and weapons into it. It's been modded so heavily. I like when the devs allow that and don't, get cranky when people do that. Most of the time, if it's a single-player game, the devs mostly don't care. but it gets a bit iffy online.
Yeah, and if you're paying or donating for something and that's where the assets have to be stuff that the team has either bought or they've made themselves.
Yeah, like Trials Fusion is one that community is based entirely on the people that play the game so well that they perfect every map. And then there's the community of the people that just make maps. That's all they do. They push the engine to its limits, and they make just the weirdest things. Trials Rising was announced at E3 at the Ubisoft event. The guy who owns the studio literally rode in on a motorcycle, wearing red, white, and blue, like Daredevil-looking jacket that had Trials Rising written on the back of it, and then stood up on stage, fell through the podium, stood up and turned around, and everyone saw it, and he turned back around. He's like, oh, yeah, we got a new game coming out, by the way. It was so dumb, but it was so funny.
Oh, yeah, Trials. I've played that, because that's the game where you're on the bike, and you try to see how far you can get along. Very physics-heavy.
Yes, very. It was always fun. When you play through the game, the first about 3/4 of each Trials game is always just, it gets more difficult and it teaches you as you go. And then from about 3/4 of the way to the end, it just gets ridiculous. Like the maps change. You have no idea what's going on. You're just hoping that you do something and it works. And like there's maps where you'll be driving along and the level will just fall out from underneath you and things will just appear. And like platforms will move with you and swing around and build new tracks in front of you as it goes. The things that they do with that game are ridiculous. And especially with Trials Rising, they've pulled together like a group of Trials community members who make YouTube videos and stuff to actually design the tutorial of the game.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so they're working with them. I think there's someone who runs a channel called Trials University, and he's heading up that. And like he's going through with a bunch of other people and actually designing the tutorial for the game, which is really cool. Like, and not a lot of studios do that much or have the chance to do that. It's really cool.
It's always amazing when a company utilizes their community. I mean, the same way that like Blizzard utilizes their community. I remember like Little Big Planet brought in so many community people to help with ideas, kind of thing. Like, what do creators want? So it's great to see that Ubisoft is doing that as well.
Yeah, it is. And the bigger the development studio, the more likely that they are able to reach out in some ways, but the less likely that they are as well. So it's kind of like once a studio gets to a certain size, a lot of them kind of want to stay where they are so that they can do crazy things, but people still trust them. A bit of a weird line to ride.
Well, and when you talk with them, you open up the ability to hear the good and the bad. I mean, when you talk with people in a community, you have to also listen to, hey, here are the gripes we have with your game. So I can see why some studios would want to put their fingers in their ears and just not listen at all. It'll be interesting to see where we go with Elder Scrolls. I'm still waiting for that Elder Scrolls game where we go back to everything. I know we have that with Elder Scrolls Online, but I don't fully consider that to be the same thing as Elder Scrolls. Have they announced where the story is with Elder Scrolls 6?
I don't believe so. They've announced it in terms of the fact that it exists, but not much else.
Just from what we've seen, it looks amazing. But again, that could be pre-rendered artwork and being like, yeah, this is what it looks like. But we put a lot of processing.
Yeah.
We have our PCs with 1,000 teraflops of graphics on it, which you won't have when you finally get it on your console or your PC.
Yeah. The only thing that we do know is that it's definitely not Skyrim. The 30-second trailer that revealed what it did, which was just sort of a large landmass, and then said Elder Scrolls 6. It's a little bit of desert, a little bit of mountain, a little bit of forest. A lot of people are guessing and hoping that it's not more of Skyrim. A lot of people want it to be like Morrowind or more of what has happened, but there's a chance that it's a place in Elder Scrolls universe that we've never been to.
And that's one thing that I've seen them do with the games is try new places, try new stories, try new content. I can't recall if the games have visited prior places too many times, but like each time you learn about a new place, you might see like a reference to something, or you might see like a small bit of content or, hey, I'm from Morrowind or I'm from Daggerfall, but it lets them try new things and be like, worrying about retconning as much. They can just keep going.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's minor references than anything. Like the different races are from all over the shop, and it's like, well, then why are they all here in Skyrim specifically? It's like, well, they traveled a long way to get here. And that's really about it. There's a lot of, oh yeah, we came from there, but we're not going to go that way. It's fine.
Yeah, fan service. Hey, it's here. That race you liked? Yep, it's here. Don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
Kind of like I want to see Twi'leks again in Star Wars, but I know that we haven't visited anywhere near there.
Yeah. Or Kingdom Hearts, where it's just like, oh, you're from there. Okay, eventually we might go that place. Who knows? Like, just all the properties that they touch. There's always references to places that you never end up going, but it's just like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we get a world that's there?
Kingdom Hearts, that's a very fascinating game because they're bridging Final Fantasy, they're bridging Disney properties. It's a game that I have trouble following the story, but it's a gorgeous game.
No, so does everyone. So does everyone. There are many theories about the story. I recently watched one of the movies that's connected to it, and it made things make even less sense. There's a lot of things that suggest that the story is going to get even more confusing because apparently several key people in the story of Kingdom Hearts can time travel and have been time traveling multiple times. And so it's just going to turn into take the story that you know and then you just blend it all up and hope that it still makes sense. But as far as we're aware at the moment, there's not really too much to go on. There have been some Kingdom Hearts releases in terms of like what's coming, but not a ton. There's like a Toy Story level as far as I can see.
And that one excites me so much because Toy Story, that is my favorite Pixar movie in Pixar series. And it makes sense with Toy Story 4 coming out.
Yeah. They have confirmed the universes of Tangled, Toy Story, Frozen, and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Interesting. That's kind of an interesting, varied group, but it also makes sense because if you think about it, Kingdom Hearts is also a marketing arm, and we have a new Toy Story coming out. We have a new Frozen coming out. I don't think we have a new Tangled coming out, but Tangled is very popular.
It is.
On the Disney Cruise Lines, they have a Tangled night, so there's something going on with Tangled. And then Pirates of the Caribbean.
I have a feeling that Tangled's one of those Disney movies that will be loved by a lot of people for a long time, whereas sort of Frozen was huge with little kids and then sort of died out, whereas Tangled was a lot deeper of a story. And so it's kind of captured the imagination and the views of more people. And so in general, it may be more popular than Frozen, or it might have more longevity in that regards. But honestly, I'm just talking out my butt.
I could definitely see that because I think the story of Tangled even spoke to me more. Though I could see a Tangled too. I don't know where they would go with it. Oh, wow. And they have Baymax. I'm looking at an IGN article from February, and one of the screenshots is Baymax.
There's not a lot of info. They've only confirmed a small number of things, but there's going to be tons of references. There may not be a Big Hero 6 world, but Baymax and some of those characters may appear in Twilight Town or somewhere along the way, kind of like, what the heck, where are we? This place makes no sense. We need to get back to wherever we're from, depending on like which world they're from, because I believe there was a confirmation that Remy from Ratatouille will be part of Twilight Town as like an NPC that helps you do things. The little bits and pieces, like watching any trailer, you see one character and it's like, okay, that one character means that every character related to them is either could be in the game or the world that's related to them could be in the game, and there's any number of speculative possibilities. It's crazy because you watch the people dissect the trailers and find all the info and break it all down and make assumptions and guess and all of this, and it's fun to do.
I just saw a screenshot of like Monsters Inc., but as you said, it might not be a Monsters Inc. world. Though like in this one, the main characters are turned into monsters.
The thing is, a lot of the time, if you see one of those three characters designed in a way to fit another property, then it's more than likely a world. Because when they go to those worlds, they always have to sort of blend in. Their costumes and what they look like changes by default. Like when they're in Halloween Town, Goofy looks like Frankenstein and Donald's a mummy and Sora looks like he's dressed up in like bat wings and looks like he's ready to trick or treat. So when they go to the different worlds, they sort of blend in as best they can.
And when you say Halloween Town, you don't mean the Disney Channel movie Halloween Town.
No, I mean Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
Halloween Town.
I was thinking that Disney Channel movie would be a weird world to be based on something. Okay, Nightmare Before Christmas makes a lot more sense.
Monsters Inc. is confirmed as a world.
Oh, very cool.
There's gameplay in that world with them as monsters doing some combat and such.
I've never finished a Kingdom Hearts game. I own quite a few of them. I own quite a few of the collections. I keep meaning to play them.
I played pretty much all of them as they were released, except for the ones that I couldn't get my hands on, like some of the portable ones. There was, a little while ago, a group of streamers, Team Forster, who do Dragon Ball Z Abridged. They started doing a weekly stream of playing through every Kingdom Hearts game in order, from number 1, in order of release, from 1 to whatever the last one that was released. And they were like, by the time we're done, there's a chance Kingdom Hearts 3 will be out and it'll be great. And they finished that over a year ago, and now they're already playing through the entirety of the Metal Gear Solid library, and they're several games deep into that. So it's pretty funny that it's been that long since they played through all of them, playing for about 2.5 hours a week, and Kingdom Hearts 3 is still not out.
Kingdom Hearts is kind of the one property that's been able to sustain itself. Like, I remember Disney Infinity. I was big into that. I was big into all the worlds coming together, but it's amazing that they couldn't do what Kingdom Hearts did.
Yeah, Disney Infinity had an issue where a lot of the people that had say in each of those properties said, no, I don't want my characters in other universes. So even though, like, you could have Hercules appear, Hercules couldn't appear in certain worlds because of the rights issues. Because people, for some reason, flat out said no, which is, honestly, I think really dumb, but I'm not the one who runs the place, so...
Yeah, because, like, whenever I saw a new character, it actually made me want to go buy the movies and buy stuff about that property, but people want to control where they're at and what they're at.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts 3 looks really good. I don't know when I'll play it, but it looks gorgeous in the graphics.
Yeah. Well, speaking of gorgeous and confusing, have you heard of Death Stranding?
Yes.
The more you look into it, the less sense it makes. I'm just going to say that. It's Hideo Kojima, his new game that he's making. Every trailer that they've revealed just makes less and less sense. They did a whole bunch of stuff at E3 with it, and it looks like you're some kind of a mailman who carries packages, and there's these invisible things that kill people for no reason, and he has a baby in a jar that's alive, and it just makes no sense, and I want him to release the damn thing so we can figure out what's going on.
Am I seeing it right? This one stars the character from Walking Dead?
Norman Reedus.
Yeah, Norman Reedus.
He is mocapped for the main character. We still don't know what that main character's name is, I don't believe. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, he's mocapped as that character and does all the voice work for them.
And this isn't the Quentin Tarantino game that they're working on?
I don't believe so.
Okay, yeah, this is the Hideo Kojima. And was Hideo Kojima the one who worked on PT?
He's the one who did Metal Gear, basically. He's the designer in the entirety of the Metal Gear series.
Okay.
The whole reason the Metal Gear franchise makes no sense is because of Hideo Kojima. He's the one that started it and did, like, story-wise, and looked after it and made all the connections. He's the father of the Metal Gear series, which means that this game is going to make no sense. There's probably going to be at least 2 more after it, so we have no idea. And
I got confused. PT was directed and designed by Hideo Kojima in collaboration with Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, it was a Silent Hill-related project, as far as I remember.
And then this is Hideo Kojima's first project since being fired by
Konami. Yes, and basically a lot of people have said this is him putting 2 big birds in the air to Konami and saying, I'll make something that's so weird and out there, people are going to love it to death. If Konami had said, this is too weird, he's wanting to sort of prove himself, to be like, no, people trust me, I know what I'm doing. And if you think it's too weird, then everyone who's going to play it thinks it's totally weird and awesome.
And I mean, that's one thing Metal Gear's done, was always try weird things, like hearing like the different bosses that are available, like, interesting, and like it all had a storyline. So now that I've seen this, I'm looking at the screenshots. I want to see where this goes.
He has the whole world hooked and he's just ready and got everybody on the edge of their seats. Yeah, there's really not much else to say. There are a few games that just have everyone on the edge of their seats, on pins and needles waiting for them. Death Stranding has to be number one. The new Spider-Man game definitely is one of them.
Yes.
And I was going to say also the new Super Smash Brothers that's been announced, but we'll talk about that in a minute, because the new Spider-Man game is just going to be so damn good.
Yeah, I love the Spider-Man on the Xbox. I'm trying to remember what it was. Was that Spider-Man 2?
Yes. 2 is the one that everybody looks to as the ultimate game that everybody needs to replicate. Because it was also on PS2.
Yeah.
It was the free-roaming web swinging through the city. You know, your web had to hit buildings. You didn't just, like, shoot web up into the air.
I remember there was one on the PS4, maybe I'm thinking PS3. There was a Spider-Man game that came out a while back. So this one is different than even that one, right? This one's going back because the trailer looked like the Spider-Man for the PS2 and the Xbox.
Yeah, so this one is totally separate from anything else. Brand new story, totally unrelated, not even comic related. They're doing everything themselves. There is actually a comic book series that's starting. The issue 0 is coming out about a month after the game starts. It's called, I think, Spider-Geddon, and they showed the cover for it, which is like almost every single incarnation of Spider-Man on the cover, and one of them was sort of just a black shadow, and no one knew what the heck that was. But now it's been revealed that the Spider-Man from the games is going to be in the comic universe, so this is technically a whole nother universe.
Okay.
If you know comics, every single version is a different universe, so this is another universe that they're making canon properly.
This way, it allowed them to experiment, allow them to not be constrained by, I got to get this in, I got to get this in, but we can try our own thing.
Exactly. In terms of other Spider-Man games that have come out, I think the previous ones, I'm trying to remember. The last ones I remember playing were the ones where you could play as the multiple Spider-Man. I think it was Shattered Dimensions, I think it was called, where you played as one of 4 of the different Spider-Man. You played as Spider-Man 2099, Amazing Spider-Man, who's like the regular Spider-Man, Spider-Man Noir, and then the Ultimate Spider-Man, who's like in the black suit. And the story was based on the dimensions, the different universes being fractured, and the 4 of them had to sort of figure out what was going on.
Yeah, I never played that one, but I saw a stream to that one. I'm just watching a trailer right now for new Spider-Man PS4, and this one, because I see interface stuff, it looks like it's real. Now, I mean, the one I'm looking at right now, I think is probably a mission, so of course they're able to add a few things for the mission. But
yeah,
wow.
Did you see the intro reveal that they did, where it was chasing Shocker through the prison?
No.
In that sort of reveal, they revealed Spider-Man chasing Shocker through a prison, sort of letting out all the prison guards, which is probably more than likely like the setup to the story. They revealed pretty much the Sinister Six in that. They revealed Shocker, Rhino, Scorpion, Vulture, and Mr. Negative as villains in that sort of first big cutscene. But then someone appeared, and the camera was sort of from their point of view, and it was looking over everyone. And then Spider-Man looks at the camera and goes, "Oh no, it's you," and then it just cuts to black, and it's like, who's the last person? A lot of people are thinking it's like Dr. Octopus or another villain that they're introducing, but some people have said, well, there's a chance it could be Miles Morales. You could play as either of them through this new game, but there's no real confirmation for that.
Oh, very cool. I'm just looking at this, going back to being a kid playing the original Spider-Man 2. The only thing that I'm sad to see was on the PlayStation site, and it says skill points. Get a head start on your web slinging experience by having skill points to unlock abilities from the start of the game. So leveling up your abilities is something that you do, and by pre-ordering, will you get a cheat code? I'm like,
yeah, that kind of sucks, but hopefully the skill point system is more of unlock this kind of web shooting, that unlock something that's similar to that, but different. Like, I believe in Spider-Man on the PS2, you had to unlock the ability to string enemies up from like light poles instead of knocking them out. You could web them to the ground first, then to walls, and then if you unlocked another stealth option, you could be on top of a light pole above someone and you could duck down, grab them, and web them up.
Yeah.
Like stuck to a light pole. I hope it's like that and not like put 2 points into strength, put 2 points into agility, put 2 points into stealth. If it's like that, it's not going to be as fun.
I've never liked getting abilities from the get-go. I like unlocking them. I like playing the game and then being like, oh, now you can get this. Then you try things differently.
Yeah. I hope they introduce a ton of costumes in the game, because if they do a bombastic Bagman skin, I'm definitely buying it, even if it's like $5. A lot of people don't know who that is, but essentially when Peter's aunt put his Spider-Man costume through the wash, he borrowed a Fantastic Four uniform and put a paper bag over his head, and that was his costume.
Nice.
Yeah, and for some reason the papers called him the Bombastic Bagman, and he's a very niche reference that only appears, I think, once in the comics for like one issue or something like that. But it was the dumbest costume, and it's so funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The best thing about this is they're bringing so much into it, and like we said with Super Smash Brothers, they're bringing everyone back. The intro trailer for it was just, we're bringing everyone back, and here's what we're doing. A lot of people said, oh, the presentation was too long. But for people who are really interested in Smash, it was perfect. Because not only did it go through and show everyone who's coming back, it also showed them what they've had to change about those characters. It's like, okay, well, this person was in the game before they introduced a certain mechanic. So they're like, okay, this is what we've done for this person, so this mechanic is now relevant. They've changed a bunch of moves. They changed how powering up abilities work, like Samus's cannon. It was so much. And then on top of that, after they said everyone is back, they revealed new characters. They revealed Daisy, who is essentially like a different version of Peach. But obviously they did introduce Ridley as a new character, which is bloody great. I'm so glad when they gave the announcement date, it was this year. It's a December game, which means it's going to sell like crazy for Christmas. A lot of people were expecting January next year as the release date, and so a lot of people were very happy. Oh, and they even took Pokemon Trainer and brought him back and allowed you to use each of the Pokemon individually, because previously if you used one Pokemon for too long they'd get tired, so you had to switch, whereas now they're like, there's no need to switch. So for people who used one as their main, they can play those characters way more.
That's cool. And I remember playing like the original Super Smash Brothers, and then I played the one on the Wii. I never played the Wii U version because I never got into the Wii U. But I always loved Smash Brothers because you'd always be like, which one would win?
And you could do that. Yeah, it's really great. Altogether, so far, they've announced 65 characters.
Wow.
Yep. So the Inklings from Splatoon and Ridley were announced as new characters, and they have Echo Fighters, who are pretty much reskins, but with a little bit of change to their moveset, and that's Lucina from Fire Emblem, Dark Pit, who is obviously a dark version of Pit, and then Daisy, who is the other form of Princess Peach, because a lot of people were clamoring to get Daisy in the game. And then, obviously, Waluigi's not in the game, which everyone's annoyed about. And the other thing is, apparently, the previous Smash release, they announced the game, they announced 2 characters, but then about a month later, they announced 3 more. So people are expecting in a little bit of time from now, they're going to announce 3 more characters. Well, everyone's hoping they announce more characters. The rumblings at Nintendo are that there are more characters to come. And a lot of people are hoping that they go the full 70 as a nice round number and leave it at that. So people are hoping for 5 new characters to be announced.
I just could not imagine how you balance all of those. That's a lot.
I don't feel envious of that person. No wonder it's taken them so long. 65 up to 70 characters who need to be designed, implemented, balanced, and the amount of testing that they would have had to do to make sure that all the animations are correct. It's mind-blowing.
And one thing I liked about Super Smash Brothers, like I'm seeing it again on the video, is I love that it leaves gore out of it. If you're dead, you just fly off the arena. Because in that way, it's a game you can play and not to worry about offending anybody.
Well, and that was the origins of the original Super Smash Brothers. If you watch the intro for the N64 version, the cutscene opens in a bedroom, and Master Hand goes into a toy box and pulls out 2 of the figures and puts them down on the desk, and then moves a couple bits of scenery in and around, and then the camera sort of sets down, and then they come alive and start fighting. So the entirety of the Super Smash Brothers game is you sitting at home as a kid, grabbing your action figures and amiibos and just smashing them against each other.
That's awesome. Wow. It makes so much sense. Because then, yeah, this person's dead. Because, yeah, I did that as a kid. I would take like an action figure, like, they're gone. They just fly off the...
Yeah, you just put them off to the side, like...
Wow! That's awesome.
Hmm.
And the properties are typically Nintendo properties, right?
Correct. Majority of Nintendo properties, as far as I'm aware, they have been buying out small bits here and there. Bayonetta is always a weird one as to why that's there. Cloud from Final Fantasy's in, as is Ryu, the dog from Duck Hunt, even Pac-Man's in there.
And Sonic.
There's a couple of ones that are really weird. Yeah, Sonic as well. They have a bunch of Pokemon. The Wii Fit Trainer, Mega Man, even Rob, the robot, is like one of those things that's like, the heck is that doing there? But okay, sure, let's do that. And you've got Lucas, even Mr. Game & Watch. The Game & Watch series was the first portable games that were one game in one little device. And they somehow managed to make, using all of those games, give him a proper moveset and make him viable as a character. It's just ridiculous.
Wow. Talk about giving people a toolbox and then just letting them play with stuff and try things out.
Mm.
And they also brought back Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yes. Well, it's a sequel. Actually, no, isn't it a prequel? Or is it part of that Tomb Raider game that was released a couple of years ago?
Okay, it's the third entry in the rebooted Tomb Raider series, according to Wikipedia. I played the Tomb Raider reboot that they did, and then I never played Rise of the Tomb Raider. I know why, because back when I was playing PS4, it was only on Xbox One and Xbox 360, and then they finally released it for the PS4.
Oh, yes, that's right. That was the exclusive one. I saw the original reboot of the Tomb Raider, and it looked really good, but I mustn't have picked it up for some reason. But yeah, it's a very interesting take on Tomb Raider as a series. He's not just some random person that's going to the tomb. There's reason. It's almost like a spiritual successor to Uncharted, even though Uncharted's not finished, I don't believe. I think there's a new Uncharted coming or is in the works. Yeah, it's kind of like a spiritual successor to that.
Yeah, Tomb Raider started with exploring like the tombs. Then they tried for a long time to add story.
Yeah, it felt way too shoehorned as far as I remember.
And then Uncharted was like, hey, you want exploration? Boom, here is exploration.
And we got a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Tomb Raider did one thing better than Uncharted did. There were gunfights, but when I played it, except for a few times, you were more incentivized to try to do stealth.
Kind of like Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
That game really did not want you to pick up a weapon at all. Anytime you picked up a weapon and you were running, as soon as you went to do anything, your character would just throw it away. Because it was never designed as a pick up a gun and fight all these guys. You were going to run, and you're going to run that way, and you're going to keep running, and then the bad guys won't catch you, sort of a thing.
Which I always liked.
They had their different styles, yeah.
And I like running through a place and be like, how far can I get without anybody taking me down?
Yeah.
And then like Uncharted is like, oh, there's cover. Like in BioShock. I love BioShock. I finished 1, I finished Infinite. But I always wanted to explore the world. It's like, oh, great. There's another ammo crate. Yep, time for a gunfight.
Yeah, that was always a dead giveaway for that game. That was like, there's a lot of ammo around here. I should probably save because there's a boss fight.
Yep, like I wanted to see the ending of the story, but that last fight in Infinite was insane. I think I went to easy mode. I did normal the entire way, and I did easy mode for the last one because like, I want to see the story.
Yeah, I had to do that for God of War when that was out. I played through that on hard through probably about 90% of the game, but to the point where it was the last boss fight against Boulder. I had to take it down to normal before having to then bang my head against that boss fight for a couple hours before beating him. I felt so accomplished that I got all the way up there, but just the amount of knowledge of the game's internal workings that you needed to be able to finish that fight was ridiculous.
Yeah. In the same vein as Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the next stealth game is The Last of Us 2.
Yes, that trailer and gameplay section was absolutely bloody mental. How vicious it was to watch Ellie do what she did. Good Lord. If you haven't seen it, just watch from the beginning to the end and don't let anyone interrupt you because you're going to be on the edge of your seat the entire time. That
whole original first game I played through and I felt for the characters so much and like would like take twists and turns and stuff like that. And there were a lot of jump scares, too. That game felt more like a story. It had the gameplay. I'm going to watch the trailer. That's what I've been hearing, too, is that trailer is great. And I'm glad to see that they're continuing the story because I want to see what happens.
Yeah, that's from what I can tell. That's really continuing the story. And the other one that I'm very much looking forward to, I know there are a lot of people that are just like, ugh, is Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Oh, yeah.
Every Assassin's Creed game, I have played through them. I have loved them. I think it was Assassin's Creed 2 was one of the first video games that actually brought me to tears because of the story that you play through. It was so ridiculous. If anyone's played it, if I'm remembering correctly, it was when you're entering the tomb at the same time as Desmond, as well as the assassin he's playing as. You head into the tomb and you're turning all the lights on as you go through, and then it cuts to the other person who's walking into the tomb, turning all the lights off. You're closing all the doors behind you. You get to the very end, and he sits down in the chair and just kind of like puts his head down, and then it cuts back to you, and you turn all the lights on, you open all the doors, and the final door opens, and you see that he just literally sat down and died. Like, you see his corpse still sitting there on that chair. It's such an emotional scene as you play through it.
That's a series I always intend to finish, but then I just get sidetracked by all the exploration, all the assassination and stuff like that. This one is Greece.
And you can play as a female character if you like.
It's giving people choice, and like one of the things is choose your path. It sounds like they're really bringing in choice.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, like, a lot of people whinged and complained when you couldn't choose, and everyone is now reporting, oh, it's the first game where you can play as a female character in the Assassin's Creed world. It's like, does no one remember Assassin's Creed Syndicate with Jacob and Evie, who you can play as interchangeably?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, they technically were on the same story. Their story was the same for the both of them. So they could have technically been just one character. But you still got to play as either of them. They play differently. But in this game, you choose who you are. Are you male or are you female? And that's the entire game for you. The game changes around you for your decisions. Apparently, there is the option to be and have homosexual relationships in the game. We have no idea what that means in terms of the actual game itself. Is there a friendship meter with people? Is it just the more you talk to someone, the more that happens? I highly doubt it's like Mass Effect. Yeah, it's very interesting, and hopefully it's going to be one of those games that's like, I finished it yesterday, and you finished it yesterday, and wow, that didn't happen for me. I killed that guy. You spared him. He helped you later on. Oh, that fight later on was way tougher for me. Oh, it was easier for you because he was helping you. Okay, I see. That makes sense. So, like, I hope that's sort of one of the things that happens.
Yeah, because it is nice when stuff goes differently. It's a different game, but the Until Dawn, it was fun in that game to have things change based off of which character you didn't protect. And it's like, oh, yeah, my game played out differently than your game played on. And hopefully Ubisoft isn't being too ambitious with this and that they can actually bring in all of that choice. And it is fun when a game, you can try things and be like, oh, yeah, because then you're watching a movie like, don't go there. Well, you don't have to go there, but what does it do to your character?
Yeah, that's always interesting. Do you enjoy anime at all?
I've watched anime. I've watched like Full Metal.
Well, there's a game coming up eventually called Jump Force. If anybody knows anime and knows of Shonen Jump, that's pretty much the magazine that keeps track of all the shonen anime in the world. The world, Japan, whatever. Previously, there have been Jump games, Jump Ultimate Star, and Jump Superstar. I think we're both on the 3DS. They had, I think, it was pretty much like Super Smash Brothers for anime. But the thing is, Jump Ultimate Stars had a roster of 41 characters on the 3DS. And it was like, good lord, I don't even know half the characters. There were 56 playable characters total, 305 references, support characters, 56 included in there, and they were from 41 different shonen manga. So, with the announcement of Jump Force, all they showed off in the trailer was Goku from Dragon Ball Z, Luffy from One Piece, Naruto from Naruto, but there's going to be way more. That roster is going to rival that of Smash Bros. Ultimate, I feel, and I hope.
So it's a fighting game? Because the description sounds like it's a story game.
Well, we don't actually know. Previously, the Jump games were side-scroll fighters. that were like Smash Brothers. You know, the levels were different. You could move up and down. It wasn't like Tekken. It was more like Smash Brothers. But this one looks like it could possibly even be like the Naruto Ultimate Ninja games, where you have an arena that you fight in and you can move through and you can destroy each match.
This is the year of the fighting games.
Seems to be. They have teased that it'll be set in New York, which kind of makes no sense because a lot of anime and manga are generally based in and around Japan. For those sports fans out there, they have ruled out sports manga characters. So no Prince of Tennis, no Kuroko no Basket, which kind of sucks because the Prince of Tennis characters were always really good characters. They have confirmed clothing damage in the game. As you're losing health, your clothes are getting damaged and stuff, I guess, which is really odd. They have said that the game is around 60% complete. However, there have been reports that there won't be a Switch version due to technical limitations, which really sucks because I would love to be able to play this on the go.
Yeah, even if they did like what they've done with Injustice, if they said, okay, on your mobile device, it'll be a little slightly less graphical than on the consoles. That would be cool to be like on the go.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, the only issue with, like, Injustice was built on the phone separately. As far as I'm aware with the Switch, they have to build the game in such a way that it works in both handheld and console mode. So they kind of have to have like 1.5 games in there rather than like building the game separately because of how quick you can just dock your Switch and keep playing. They don't want it to be like, oh, you've docked your Switch, save, quit, reload the game so we can load the proper assets for you. Sort of a thing.
Okay.
That's just me guessing. As a game designer, that would be my game design brain telling me that's probably how it works. It just sort of switches between the strength of the processor and graphics as it has access to different amounts of power. So doing that kind of switch would be quite difficult.
Yeah, that is one of the reasons why I'm at some point wanting to get a Switch is all of the ability to go between handheld and docked.
I have an 1.5 hour train ride to and from work every day, so it's the best console ever.
It's that dream that someone who worked for Sony said Nintendo did a better job than Sony ever could have with the PS3, PS4, and the Vita.
Yeah. So the thing about the PSP and the Vita was that the culture outside of Japan wasn't good enough. In Japan, everyone takes the train. Everyone walks, catches the train, catches public transport to and from work. And everyone is happy to, on their way home, stop and, oh, there's a bunch of people playing Monster Hunter on their PSP in the park. People are happy to stop and play and then be like, oh, crap, I've been here for 45 minutes. I got to go. Then jump on another bus, continue to play, and get home. Whereas everywhere else in the world, everyone's got their own mode of transportation. And it's like, I just jump in the car and I drive. And it's like, well, can't really play that in the car.
No.
And to the rest of the world, the PSP and the Vita were for kids. Whereas in Japan, it was like businessmen who are done for the day in their full suit and tie will be sitting on the train playing Vita, playing Monster Hunter, playing any of the games that are available because they want something to do while they travel. Reading the newspaper is fine. Smartphones weren't exactly that smart back then. And so it was sort of the next best thing. And obviously it was extremely popular with college kids and high school kids who can get their hands on them. Inside of Japan, the Vita is still huge. They're still making games for it. Not so much the rest of the world.
I played the Sly Cooper game. It was fun playing it on the PS3, and then when I had to go, just uploading the save and then downloading the save to my Vita and playing the same game. And that's where the Switch, I've almost bought one. I'm probably going to end up owning one by the end of the year.
Just keep an eye out for the sales.
Oh, absolutely. And the price has gone down, which is great. It's getting close. Well, and then like my nephew would love it because then I could be able to play because he's always like, hey, can you play the games with me? I don't know. I'm like, I don't have the same stuff.
Yeah. And the best part is a lot of the games that have a co-op feature, you take the Joy-Con and you give him one half and you have the other half and you're already playing. There is no need for a second controller.
That's cool.
And it's as simple as that.
Well, and it takes all the confusion away because, yeah, I remember always getting multiplayer. Yep, controller connect. I think Nintendo's done a lot of great stuff with the Switch. I want to end this session with one game that it's a game I've not played a lot of the later series, but it's a game that always is part of me is Halo Infinite.
Yes.
Just looking at the screenshots looks amazing. I always like to see the screenshots after the promotion because the screenshots, from my experience, tend to be different than what you get in the main game. but still, it looks really good. And I played the Halo because I had a friend who got a 360. So I played the Halo 4, I believe it was. And that was fun. The only Halo game I've ever fully beat was Halo Combat Evolved.
Yes, same with me. I was a PlayStation man, never had an Xbox, didn't play Halo 2 from pretty much then on. I did occasionally do like LAN parties where I have an Xbox and jump in there. I don't remember which Halo it was, where you played Firefight, where it was just waves of enemies and you just pick class, grab a weapon, and just spend hours mowing down enemies as fast as you can. That was pretty much all Halo ever was. And for me, when I was at TAFE doing an IT course, if we were done our work an hour and a half early, we would just all kick over Halo, set up a LAN, and just start killing each other until we had to go. It was great.
I remember like Halo co-op. That was amazing because it was fun. I played with my brother-in-law and we just went through the entire Halo game and we almost got to the end just due to time. It was the final Pillar of Autumn run and stuff like that. That was great. And I remember the flood. I remember all that. One of the funniest Halo stories is there was a youth group lock-in and two of the seniors just at one point over the night just appeared and you're wondering what happened to them. So then there's the library is locked but you hear sounds coming from it and someone's like, they're playing Halo. It's like, of course, the seniors could be playing Halo and not enjoying the community. But yeah, looking at Halo, it really looks like they're continuing the trend that a lot of games are of let's continue what we have, but let's see where we can go. Sounds like this is a new and unexpected directions. They're really trying things. I've always had an affinity for Halo and Master Chief, even though, again, I've not played all of them. It's a series that I've cheered for.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just reading through here, like, all the info that they have gotten me E3, and pretty much the developers have said the game has a long way to go. They have no possible announced date. They have no plans for announcing anything. It sounds like they've only just started working on it. As far as the story is concerned, they've realized that the story of the Halo series has gotten sort of away from Master Chief, and they want to bring it back on him. I have no idea what the story of Halo is after the first one. I know that there was the alien that you could play as in Halo 2.
Yeah.
Name is escaping me. And then there was the ODST. They had their story. There was a group of people who have the same armor as Chief who were sent to hunt him down. Halo 5 was a split story between Master Chief and Agent Locke, I think it was. And the story kind of, as far as everybody else tells me, wasn't that great. And so getting back to the original, I honestly don't think I'm going to play Halo Infinite because I don't have an Xbox One. But they may even be in talks to make this sort of the flagship launch for the next Xbox console. A little bit of news that I've heard, a little bit of scuttlebutt, has said that they want the next console to have possibly no media. Don't buy games physically. You just download them. They want games to pretty much be services. Buy Halo and you buy little things here and there and it's the last console you'll ever need, sort of. There's a possibility that this could be the flagship product for that console.
Kind of like the idea that OnLive was. I was a huge proponent of OnLive and actually put a lot more money into OnLive buying stuff than I should have. And all those games are gone now. But it sounds kind of like that, except with the hardware to back it. And was the last Halo on Windows 10? Because on their site, they're saying that it's on Xbox One and Windows 10. I'm
not sure. I think it was one of those cross-platform Microsoft Store Windows 10 deals. But my system, I'm still running Windows 7 due to some hardware issues and podcasting stuff that would take me way too long to figure out if I upgrade. But as far as I can see, it looks to be Microsoft available on PC through Windows 10, but I'm not up on that. Maybe your listeners would know more.
And at some point, I'm going to get a PC. I'm on a Mac. Doesn't run for me yet, but I've been debating the PC. And Microsoft seems to be moving a lot of stuff into either playing Xbox One or Windows 10. And I think they're kind of making it, hey, if you want a PC, here's games. Or if you want Xbox One, Or I know some people who really do the Xbox remote play. They're on their PC, but they're playing Xbox One remotely.
Yeah, that's something that they want to kind of do where you buy the game once and you've got it on both. It was kind of like cross-play for the PS4 and the Vita. A bunch of games came out. It's like, oh yeah, PlayStation All-Stars, I think one of the Ratchet & Clank games was, buy it on PS4 and you can download it on your Vita as well. It's the same game, plays the same, your saves are in the cloud, do it that way. But they kind of cut that off rather quickly because at the time, no one really wanted to do that. No one really wanted to download the games. And the Vita was kind of failing as it was. It was kind of the last push to be like, please buy a Vita, maybe. But everyone who had a Vita loved it.
Oh, absolutely. I loved it too. There were some games that I would buy or I would play multiple ways. And I enjoyed like when they brought PS1 games. I've not played my Vita in years just because of time and stuff like that. And I put my attention now more toward PC and stuff like that. PC/Mac. I mean, mainly World of Warcraft recently. Some of this stuff may get me back into playing some other games on the side. Spazz, I thank you again. This was fun. It was fun to talk about E3. It was fun to go over a lot of great games. I think we covered quite a few. I mean, just going through the list.
There's a lot more that we didn't cover.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's E3.
Yeah. Is there a game that you're really looking forward to that we didn't go over?
Not really, no. I mean, Octopath Traveler coming out on Switch is really interesting. A lot of people assumed that was going to be the next Final Fantasy game, and Octopath Traveler was just a pseudonym, sort of fake name for it. But I played the demo, and there are 8 characters that you play, and you play through their stories, and you travel as them around the world. It sounds really interesting. It plays like a Final Fantasy game. Pretty much can't wait for it to come out. There is Ghost of Tsushima, which is kind of like Dark Souls, Nioh sort of thing. Neo 2 is happening. Shadows Die Twice, which sounds really awesome, but there's so much. This episode could have been 3-4 hours long and we would have just kept going and going and going, but
yeah, and it's amazing with games. There's so much choice and there's still like a lot of exclusives and stuff like that. There's so many great games from so many different people, and this is just the stuff that was announced. There's never been a better time to be a gamer.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know how game journalists do it. Playing all the games, talking about the games. I can't keep up with all this stuff. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that was coming out. I didn't know that was coming out. And like, I hear about these game journalists. Oh yeah, played that. How? Where'd you get the time? But when your job's gaming.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the guys like Kinda Funny. It's their full-time job to play games. And as much as I would love a job like that, I don't envy them having to play and review and upload content that they upload daily. It's just ridiculous. Getting into that sort of space as a reviewer of games, you either have to be doing it full-time or be working full-time and not sleeping.
Yeah, and at some point, I heard from some that like you get cynical. You start seeing all the games, so then you can't really enjoy it because you're like, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this out for the review, and it's just not as much fun. Whereas like we're able to really just talk about it and just be like, yeah, hey, we're just having a fun time talking, but we don't need to review anything, which is great.
Yeah.
And Spazz, where can people find you?
For myself, my previous podcasting adventures were the Reins of Azeroth, World of Warcraft podcast, mainly about mounts and collecting in WoW. That is on permanent hiatus, pretty much due to a bunch of different reasons, mostly personal. I am hoping to get something back up and running, maybe not the Reins of Azeroth, but something similar at some point when everything calms down. But other than that, you can find me on Twitter at Spazz Wesson. The show is at Reins of Azeroth.
Thank you to Spazz Wesson for joining me on that episode. We had a lot of fun. And again, I was tired because it was 6 a.m. in the morning, but it was so worth it. I had a lot of fun talking about games from E3. What games from E3 are you interested in? Let me know. And next week, there will also be no live show because I'm visiting another friend in Australia, Lita. So I will see you next week for Frazley's Australian Adventure. You can find the show at frazlecast.com. Until next week, be awesome.
Welcome, peeps, to Digging Deep with Broaden. I'm your dwarf priest, and I will heal you while giving you the news. Re-recording from Ironforge over in my home in the Mystic Ward. What a wild time it has been in World of Warcraft. WoW just launched in the US on November 7th and the EU on December 6th. We got the Dungeons of Moradin, the Feast of Great Winter. We can finally hide our cloaks and helmets. Got the Gurubashi Arena event where I keep dying. We've just gotten the meeting stones, so you can now summon other players without needing a warlock. Imagine if one day they added a looking for group feature. You wouldn't ever need to go to the instance to get in. Nah, that'd never work, and the players wouldn't like it. We also got Dire Maul, the bosses of Azeroth, and Lord Kazakh. We got epic quests for priests, hunters, and the PvP honor system has also been introduced. Warsong Gulch and Aldrak Valley opened yesterday in patch 1.5.0. I still have to delve into Aldrak Valley, but I played in the Warsong Gulch last night. In the map, you battle the opposing faction to capture a flag at your home base. I've always enjoyed capture the flag games, ever since Unreal Tournament 2004, so this was a fun event to play in. I kept dying a lot, though, and was healing my teammates. I think you will enjoy it. Imagine if there's an add-on that told the opposing faction to kill all the healers. Nah, that never happened. Oh, and there's apparently a shortage of cloth. Report to the capital cities to help. Who knows what this could mean? Well, I'm off to go harvest cloth to turn in. Loving this game so far. It has been a lot of fun. I wonder what is in store. I've already been enjoying the patches. Thank you for tuning in to Digging Deep with Broden. You can find the website at http://www.geocities.com/broden370/dig/episode22.html. And you can email me at broden370@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to keep digging in.
Frazzlecast is a fan podcast that covers Blizzard games. We are not affiliated with Blizzard Entertainment. Views expressed by the host and guests are their own. Some of the art, music, and sound effects come from Blizzard games and are owned by Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. No copyright infringement is intended.
Want more awesomeness every week? Visit weeklyawesome.com. Weekly podcasts to make your week better. Remember to smile and be awesome.